Okay, okay, everybody, we're back for session 2 in the Juvenile Justice Alternative Education strand. We have Lori Linus and Travis Hall with us, who are going to be sharing their excellent information about implementing PBIS in an alternative day school program and integrating PBIS with restorative practices. So Lori, I will turn it over to you.
All right, great. Thank you so much. So I'll just do quick introductions of myself, let Travis do a quick introduction. So, you know, a little bit about us. So my background, I actually started, my first teaching job was in a juvenile justice facility that was a restorative based facility. And we're going to talk a little bit about bringing in restorative and weaving in those pieces into your MTSS framework. And then after that, I spent the rest of my teaching career working with students with emotional behavioral. And then for the last 16 years now, I've been going out and doing school and district support, training, coaching, evaluation work. So, Travis?
I'm Travis Hall. I'm principal of Renton Academy, which is a K-12 school serving students with significant emotional and behavioral disabilities. We're just south of Seattle. Our district actually has a border with Seattle. My background, I've been working with at-risk teens now for about 20 years. Most of it's been in the school system. It began with working with runaway and drug-addicted young people back when I was just coming out of the University of Washington. In the middle of all that, I also became a marriage and family therapist and practiced doing family therapy as well in the evenings when my day job was working at Renton Academy.
Excellent. And I can see Jeff's on. Jeff, do you want to do a quick introduction?
Sure, I think that's possible. Yeah, this is Jeff Sprague. I'm a professor of special education at the University of Oregon, partner in the PBIS TA Center, and I'll just be adding some color commentary today as Lori and Travis do the great work that they do. So glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, the three of us did a similar presentation at CEC last year, so this will be fun. So I'll just put these up. You've been looking at them throughout the session. This is Jeff's job. If you should not follow any of the expectations, he'll pull you out for a restorative chat. So, and then just help desk, if anything goes wrong and we know there's been some issues, go through the help desk to get any of your support. I do want to pause here, and I know this is one, you know, that we always have in at the forum, but when you're thinking about MTSS and you're thinking about bringing in these different layers, the restorative, the social emotional learning, your PBIS work, I think these 5 questions really are essential, that you need to really pause and think about, how does all of this work with our priorities? Have we really thought about who would do this work? Where would it live? So it's really bringing in that implementation science. So before you're jumping in straight to that implementation, are you really doing that exploration and initial installation across? So come back to these as you sit in dialogue as a team. So our objectives for this session: learn about PBIS and restorative practices and how those work in an alternative ed setting. Travis is going to present an exemplar of what this can look like. And then we're also going to show you a tool that can aid in this process. And I'm going to start here with this definition. This is the one I tend to kind of go to when I think about restorative. And I'm a huge Brene Brown fan. If you haven't listened to Brene Brown, that's your next job. You should be doing that. And on a podcast I was listening to yesterday when I was out on a jog, she was talking about, if we really want true connection for people, they need to have 3 things. They need to feel seen, they need to feel heard, and they need to feel valued. And I was like, oh, that's just, you know, how we kind of talk about this notion with restorative. And I actually really liked that, putting in that valued versus respected, because I think a lot of times with respect, there's a lot of different cultural norms, and it's really whose definition. So seen, heard, and valued. But it is about this sense of community. Is what do you want your school or building? What's that feel that you want to create for every child, staff member, adult, community member, you know, whoever it is that's walking into that building? one of the things that we really want to emphasize, and Travis will talk about this too, is restorative is not a Band-Aid for a broken system. We see a lot of schools get into this work because they hear restorative is a great way to reduce suspensions, and it is, and you'll see Travis's data on that. But restorative is really about creating this culture, and it is really about the systems, and it's about adult change. Just like we talk about in PBIS, it starts with adults changing, and kids change because the adults change. So it really is about engaging hearts and minds. And then I like to use this diagram, and the reference is on the side there, and I can also, when we go to Q&A, I'll throw this reference in the chat for you. But this little book of Restorative Justice and Education by Catherine Evans and Dorothy Vandering. And I love this because it really captures, as we talk about restorative practices, right? We're trying to build these nurture healthy relationships, because if we go in just to do repair work when some type of problem or harm has occurred, we don't have anything to repair it back to. So the idea with restorative is we're restoring back to the relationship. So it's central that that's what we develop first, right? Developing those relationships, using restorative as a tool, your PBIS and MTSS work as a tool to create just and equitable learning environments, really paying attention to those kids who are furthest from educational justice. And then, yes, also using this as a tool to repair harm and transform that conflict. And then you can see how they talk about, centered around all of that is respect, dignity, and mutual concern. And all of those things are given. No one has to earn respect. Respect is given to everyone who walks in the door. And then just this notion, like if we think about this kind of in the notion of 3 tiers, the emphasis we want to give is 90% of your focus has to be on that tier 1. It's making and developing those positive relationships. And then what it is and what it isn't, right? It's not a discrete set of practices. Yes, we have a set format that we use for doing our circles. We have a set format that we do for doing the questioning when we're addressing harm, but there's actually many different practices around restorative and many different ways that you can do that questioning. One of the people that I love in this work, and if you're really looking into restorative, I would say look into his work. His name is Dominic Barter, and he's from Brazil. And he uses a 3 questioning process instead of, the traditional 5 questioning process that you often see used more in the Western schools. This is not about forcing students to apologize, right? This is not. So restorative is going to be one tool in your tool belt. If kids aren't ready to come into a circle, they aren't ready to talk about how to make things right. We don't force kids into that. Restorative is not about just using circles. That's one of our central tools, but there's a lot of things that we do that build community and relationships. And I think you'll really see that in Travis's examples. And then it's not about something that we do instead of PBIS. So I work with a lot of schools. They'll call and they say, hey, Lori, we saw this thing this summer. We want to start restorative. And now we're going to do that instead of our PBIS work, right? When we think about multi-tiered systems, I love Kent McIntosh and Steve Goodman. They talk about it as all these plates. We've got all these different plates of things that we're trying to do in the school. And MTSS gives us that platter that we're going to put all of these plates on. And restorative is a great piece of that platter. PBIS is too. And it's about that systems building. When we think about alternative ed settings, right, we're still doing the same thing. We're still building these same 3 tiers. However, it may look different. Instead of like an easy example is in PBIS, we talk about getting to that 5-to-1 level of positive to corrective. When we're in an alternative setting, our baseline may be 10-to-1 instead of 5-to-1. but we're still holding those same principles. But what some schools normally do up at tier 3 is what alternative schools do kind of as their daily base. And Travis will talk about that too at Renton Academy. And then just looking at these great facilitators that really help us to put MTSS in place. And, you know, Jeff, if you want to jump in, because this is your research and your work, but thinking about where restorative justice really fits in and its role within this multi-tiered system of support. And, you know, we've got the arrow pointing to where it was actually spoken out. But as you listen today and think about this, think about all of these places where you actually hear restorative fitting in, because it's a great way to also do your instructional practices as well. It's a great way to do all of that front community building. It's not just, you know, about how we bring kids in when amends need to be made. The tool that we want to show you, and I'll make sure on our final slide with our emails, we've also put up Dr. Bridget Walker's contact, because she's the lead developer for this tool called the peer EBD process. And it is a way to gauge multi-tiered systems of support being put in place in alternative or specialized environments. So if you're in that environment and you're looking for a great tool, I would point you to contacting Bridget, and she can tell you more about that tool. But it looks at our processes across 4 lenses: program philosophy and systems, structure, climate and group processes, and then your individual programming. And I'll break these out a little bit more for you here, right? And we think about, right, if we think about that kind of notion of the platter, we are looking first at that systems, right? The systems are what allow the adults to carry out the practices to the kids. So we're looking at that system. We're coming back to, what is your philosophy? What drives your program? And that philosophy, how is that really centered on kids and the work that you want to get out to your students? And then what are those structures that you need to put in place that really help you carry forward that work? And then things like climate and group processes, which are critically important in our alternative ed settings. And then, of course, the individualized programming that we have for every kid that's coming in. And you can see some places where we've highlighted how restorative fits into this process. And then, as we kind of talked about, right? So our first layer is your philosophy, your systems approach. And Travis is going to talk about their philosophy around re-education. And I'll put in at the end, when we get into Q&A, I'll put a link in so you can find out more about re-ed if you're interested in that, finding out more about that model. And then we have our structure, our content and group process, and individual programming. And within the peer EBD, it's a participatory evaluation process. And it's about everybody coming together to really say, do we think these indicators are in place? So everyone answers separately initially, and then everyone comes together as a group to agree upon their answers. And then, just like you'd see if you're doing a tiered fidelity inventory, there's also walkthrough processes where we go out into the classroom. We look at things like functional behavioral assessments, intervention plans. We're looking for evidence that these pieces are strongly in place. And it really provides a nice guide on helping to guide your MTSS work. And it was the thing for Renton Academy that said, hey, restorative might be a piece that really would help carry your work forward. And then I'll just show you this. So this is 3 time samplings across some indicators for, you can see in 2009-10, reviewer ratings and team ratings. You can see it in 2012-13, and then again in 16-17. And so these are just looking at a few of the big indicators, but across time, you really want to look that, are we really growing across time as we put these things in place? And no, as you can see here, there's going to be ebbs and flows, because we know there's high turnover in staff. There's a lot of changes, especially around alternative ed, that are coming right now. down from federal and state laws. So there's a lot of fluctuation that you'll see as well. The last piece then I'd focus on is just when you're thinking about these pieces, you're thinking about what's going to really help us move forward in this work. It's how do we make sure our behavior support process really helps the youth accept responsibility, right? We're not forcing them into that responsibility. We're working with them in skill building so that they can come to that place, right? And when we use restorative processes, it's a very vulnerable place for kids to be. And we're asking kids to come in and be vulnerable, because often they have kind of fallen in this place of shame, which really says, I'm wrong. We want to get that kid into a place that is focused around guilt, which says, I've done something wrong, which also means I can make that something wrong right, right? And that's why too, when we talk about restorative, we really encourage schools to look at all of your practices and ask yourselves, is the practice I'm choosing one that focuses on shaming kids, that puts kids out in front of people, to, you know, go up and flip your card, move your clip, your name's on the board, you know, all of those things. We do those things because we're trying to get that kid into a place of seeing what they've done is not a great choice, but we're actually driving them into a place that we don't want them to be, because we're putting that messaging on a kid that says, you're wrong, instead of you've made a choice that has, you know, been against our expectations or our values. And then placing high value on academic engagement and achievement, teaching kids alternative ways to behave, right? So this is where we talk about the difference between punishment and discipline, because punishment says you've done something and now we bring in this huge hammer. Discipline by definition is teaching and learning. So we want to give kids alternative ways, alternative choices, and then focusing on restoring the environment and damage to the relationships. It's not about the rule that's been broken, but the relationship that's been damaged.
Yeah, Laura, I would just add a couple comments there. We talked earlier, you mentioned MTSS, and you know, teaching alternative ways to behave. That's the core of our work on the PBIS side of functional behavior assessment, and what Ted Carr and Mark Duran brought us 2 years ago, teaching functional equivalent replacement behavior. So it's a place where the behavioral worldview and the restorative worldview really come at probably from a different angle, but it's really the same practice. So I think that's important. And then I think the other piece too, maybe to mention, and we'll talk about it more too, but that around accepting responsibility. You know, I've heard administrators over the years say, well, I'll tell a kid, I had an administrator tell me this once, I'll tell a kid, I'll suspend you for fewer days if you admit your guilt, right?
Right.
And you know, this loosely held notion of like, if the child who caused harm shows remorse, we'll be more lenient. And so what I think for those that have the delegated authority to deliver punishment, usually by exclusion, suspension, or office referrals, the stuff that we're talking about today really gives us a chance to give some guidance to those who are exercising power and doing damage in ways that they probably aren't aware of. And I know Travis will talk about that in his role of a leader. So just wanted to make those comments. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I should have just said, this is Jeff's slide, so jump on in and talk about it.
it's all good.
So now Travis is going to talk to us, and what I think you'll find probably the most beneficial is, what does this actually look like when we put it into place?
Cool, thank you, Lori and Jeff. You guys have given me a lot of ideas that I should talk about in the next. We'll probably take another day and a half to cover all the topics that they've want to talk about. So everyone, you know, buckle up. It's going to be a ride here for a bit. I do want to say I've been participating in a lot of sessions in this as well, and something I've appreciated greatly is the use of chat and seeing just different ideas coming across for everyone, just you know, across the country and the world as well. So I'm going to ask people to, if they have not yet, to really dip their toes into the world of chat on Pathable. And I'm going to start with a group check-in question. So every morning at Renton Academy, we'd have an AM meeting. Last spring, when we were in this kind of fully remote, whatever that was, world, in my family, we had a morning meeting. We had a morning check-in every morning as a family. And I have a 2-year-old, or he's 2 at the time, that was a participant in morning meetings. And we'll talk more about that in a bit. But my morning question for this group is, it'll be a question that I just heard the other day in one of my morning sessions. Would you rather have slides for stairs or trampolines for floors, and why? So if you could just post that answer in the chat. Slides for stairs or trampolines for floors, and why? I'm going to give just a moment of think time to see if people, as they're wrestling with this very challenging question. I'll give you a little background on Renton Academy. So we opened back in 2006, and really our goal was to serve the students with the most significant emotional and behavioral disabilities in our school district. What we were doing prior to that was we were sending our students with the most significant emotional and behavioral disabilities out to non-public agencies. Some of them were pretty good, and some of them, frankly, the way they solved behavior was that they turned down academics. And so they would promote the students. So they would say, great, you've passed the 9th grade, but really the kids didn't have any marketable skills. And so in thinking about it, and we're looking at, of course, the school to prison pipeline, boy, if you want to grease the wheels of the school to prison pipeline, don't hold kids academically accountable, and they will socially promote and graduate without, really without any marketable skill, and then they'll have to find ways to make money. And I just got a note here that it seems like we are mostly a trampoline crowd today. One person suggested having trampolines for stairs. Interesting take on it. That's good. That informs me about how I'm going to craft the rest of this presentation, knowing that this is a trampoline crowd instead of a slide crowd. So when we created Renton Academy, we were very lucky to hire a fantastic initial director named Dr. Lisa Hoyt. Some people might know her. She's traveling around quite a bit doing trainings in certainly the Washington State area, but I know nationally she's had a presence around. And Dr. Hoyt said, if we're going to start this, what we need is a philosophy. So we can't just open a building and start tossing these kids in. We have to have a philosophy that guides our decision-making process. So she brought the idea of re-education into the Renton School District, and that has been the philosophy upon which we've really based this program since it opened in 2006. This is, and the image you see now is our current building. So when we were originally opened, we were placed into an elementary school that they just didn't feel like bulldozing yet. They were discussing, they didn't have a use for it, and so they're like, well, you can have it. And really the mindset initially, and I'm not blaming the district level leadership at the time, was that this probably isn't going to work. We're going to have a lot of litigation going on, being a public school that serves students significant with emotional and behavioral disabilities. After 10 years, they were like, wow, this is the real deal. You guys, myself and Dr. Hoyt got to work with the architects to actually renew an old elementary school and create a site really geared towards serving students with emotional and behavioral disabilities. And it does make a difference for our young people to see a beautiful building, especially these kids with significant emotional and behavioral disabilities. They often find themselves in portables and in the dilapidated back alleys of the school. So to see a place that holds them valuable and shows them that they have importance really just helped from just a purely structural standpoint. So Laura, if you could click over to the next one. So just to give you an idea of the lay of the land is we have, give or take, 50 students, K-12 in the Renton School District. We also serve some surrounding school districts as well. Overall, we cover about a 200 square mile radius if you're going to plot all my kids out on a map. So in terms of getting family engagement, it can be kind of tricky if the goal is to get them on site. Of course, we are now in a world where on site is not a thing, at least in the Seattle area. So we do steep ourselves in the re-education philosophy, originally modeled after positive education program out in Cleveland. Our student population, we're 100% special education. we're 80 to 90% free and reduced lunch, 85% male. Our demographics, we're 32% African American. Our district, to give you an idea, is about 14% African American currently, 24% white, 22% multiracial. And of that multiracial, it is prominently African American white, and then 18% Hispanic. You can move on, Lori.
Yep.
So as I mentioned, we opened in 2006 on this re-education framework of Nicholas Hobbs. And what we learned very, very quickly is that no school has the answer to this unique, exciting problem that we have. And I've worked with a lot of my teachers to know that as soon as you think you have the answer, then the students will change the game. And so there's this constant cycle of reevaluating and partnering with other communities. We've been very lucky to have visitors from across the country, from New Orleans, from actually across the world, from, I think the farthest person we had came to us from Australia, might have been Perth. I have yet to have the opportunity. So far I've gotten to go to Cleveland, but we'll see. Hopefully I will get a chance to see Perth or some of the schools in like Norway or whatnot out there. But having those opportunities to have people come, not because we are the experts, but because this is our way of doing it. And let's engage in dialogue about how you're doing it. And let's see if we can use each other to do a communal lift. So throughout our time at Renton Academy, we have done AM and PM meetings. That's been a real focus for Renton Academy. Is we have this, the group is important as one of our philosophical framework components. So we started with, we're going to have these AM meetings. And the reason I bring this up is a lot of times when those people come to visit us, what they say is they'll say, I want to see a circle. Show me a harm circle. Like harm circles are really kind of I said this, they're the sexy part of restorative practices that we see on television shows and talked about. They are an important part of it, but they are certainly not the only part. And as Lori mentioned earlier, that restorative practices, you're restoring them to something. So we have to have relationship that you are restoring to. It's not just a matter of saying, well, you know, as it was mentioned earlier, like you did something bad, apologize, and let's get on with our day. It's let's explore the impact of this relationship and how we can make that better. So I'll talk a little bit more about AM, PM groups here in a moment. When we began our formal training really in restorative practices in the 2015-2016 school year with actually Lori Linus came out to help us with that training. And what we found is that a lot of the restorative practices were already aligned to this re-education framework that we've been practicing for 10 years. So it wasn't a huge shift to move our community into restorative practices. Now, of course, in our community, we really pride ourselves in hiring a diverse group of teacher counselors. That's what everyone goes by here. And so there are certainly people who want to push back. We have the people among us that are let's draw the hard line in the sand and if this, then this sort of stuff. And I think it's really important to have those people with us, to have that lens as well. As many people, as many diverse opinions as we can get, the better. But that does let us know that as we're moving into these restorative practices, it was really important to give the foundation, the reasons why, looking at exemplars of how it's working well, and really looking at playing the long game, if you will. It's not just a matter of, hey, this young person wronged someone, let's do a circle. It's let's look holistically at the whole restorative process as it relates to our philosophical framework. All right, Lori. So when thinking about our school district, and something I love is the acronyms that school districts come up with. They are coming up with them right now as we're talking. When we get out of this training, there will be new acronyms that none of us have known, and we'll have to be responsible for using those. But Renton School District, when we opened, had I think at that point they were calling it PBIS. They moved to MTSS. They talked to RTI, but they had their rough scale of their pyramid. So, and you can hit it. Next slide, Lori. So when we're thinking about Renton Academy, we live in that tier 3. So Renton Academy is that tier 3 intervention. I get to do a lot of trainings in my school district and in surrounding districts, and we serve 50 kids out of a total population of about 15,000 students in our district. So when you look at it, our population serves about 0.3% of the Renton School District. So 1 in every 300 kids. And whenever I do a training, inevitably, every teacher in that meeting comes up to me and says, boy, have I got the kid for you. They statistically don't have that kid for me. they have a kid with very challenging behaviors. But I try to explain to them, like, the Renton Academy students really are the Navy SEALs of naughtiness. They are the best of the best of the best. So, and I believe absolutely that when the kids are wearing teachers out, and there are some amazing teachers just get very tired with students. But a lot of times where that comes from is a lack of fidelity in tier 1 and tier 2 implementation. And I know I can't remember who it was that spoke to me about the idea of a slot machine, that if the behavior pays out even every so often, the kids are going to keep playing that behavior. They'll keep playing the slot machine. So, Lori, if you could click again, and this part's going to blow your mind. As we zoomed into the Renton Academy triangle, that took me about 3 days to perfect, everyone. So I hope that is in the feedback that you loved that zoom in. Lori, if you could click one more time. So what we were looking at when we created Renton Academy is, for our tier 1 ideas, we had to think, like, what does every student need? And so we have our rocks. We are respectful, we take ownership, we collaborate, we're kind, and we're safe. You can see that picture right in the center there. We have our PBIS framework as well. And something I've seen many buildings do is they say, we've got our PBIS framework, look at this poster. So, and I often respond like, well, PBIS isn't the poster. That's a tool for something else. In our rocks, though, what we try to do is we're always highlighting those and referring back. What does it really mean to be kind? What does it really mean to be safe? We'll talk more in just a second about what it looks like for students. Also on that image, you'll see the full value contract, which was created by, I think, Project Adventure. We have modified it a little bit, that we do every morning in goal group with our students. That we are there's for people who are like PSYOP friendly, we even use our hands. So we are a group with group and individual goals. So that's the thumb, because the thumb is like a finger, but it's a little special, you know, it's a thumb. We agree to participate in all adventures is that index finger. We agree to be safe with our words and actions. No discounting, that's the middle finger. Some of you might be familiar, you can use the extended middle finger to offend people if you want. So we use that, we show it like that. We agree to give and receive honest feedback is our ring finger, the idea of marriage and weddings and relationships. You're supposed to give and receive honest feedback. I am a marriage therapist as well, so trust me, that is good advice. And we agree to let it go, hold no grudges. And those are the pinkies. They're not very tough, so we symbolize it with this, and then have fun. And that's your old-fashioned jazz hands right there. Every morning we have kids as young as 5 and kids as old as 19 who are doing the full value contract with their staff in their morning meeting. You also see up there that students have goals that are related to, ideally they're related to their IEP, but the idea is around, for these kids, is teaching them that we have goals every day in our life forever and ever and ever. So whether it's a big goal, like we certainly have students that want to be in the NFL. Well, you can't be in the NFL today, but you can do stuff that will help you be in the NFL today. And we help to break down each step of that goal. If you want to play for the Seahawks, which again is our local team and vastly, I think, the best team in the country right now.
Sure.
But if you want to play for the Seahawks, then what can you do today? So you'll want to go to college and play football there. How can we get into a college that allows that? How can you be academically eligible today? What can you engage in? What's getting in your way? And then the other part you see on there is the circle of courage on each side of the triangle. That's our level system, and I say levels in quotes. So it's taken from the work of Brentro, Broken Leg, and Van Bakken. And really it's around the Native American concept of how children are raised, that no one is above or below. So a student moves through the circle of courage. So they go from belonging to mastery to independence to generosity. And really the concept is around how are you part of our group? So in belonging, the first stage, if you think about it, it's like a child. So that needs a lot of support. A toddler, I've got a 3-year-old at home, needs a lot of support from other people in the community. Once you get to independence, I have a 7-year-old who very much fancies himself to be in this, or I'm sorry, once you get into mastery, I have a 7-year-old who very much fancies himself to have mastery of a lot of things, most recently a yo-yo, and he might be listening right now somewhere. But mastery is the idea that you actually have some skill sets. So you can do things that help our community out. independence, you can think of it as kind of young adulthood, where we launch our young people, where you're on your own, you're self-sufficient. You're not quite ready to give back to the community, but you can manage yourself. And then generosity is, you think of it as like being an elder, so that now it's your turn to give back to our community. So as students work their way through the circle of courage, they earn more privileges. They also have more responsibilities that, we of course would associate with growing in our community. And so like many times when we have those visits, those generosity students are helping us to promote those visits, have those conversations with families and folks from other places. Or if you could cruise on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So then as we're thinking more about our tier 2 interventions, and again, thinking about this from at the base level, there are many more than what I'm sharing here, but at the base level, this is the top of the triangle for the rest of the school district, and we're adding to the top of the triangle. So we do things like experiential education. We have a lot of young people that are wonderful, wonderful athletes, but they are not the best team players in the world. And so we have an experiential educator that works on, certainly you can play a game of basketball, but then afterwards, let's debrief it and talk about how we can be a better teammate, how we can manage our frustrations when we're not making the basket. We have, for some of our students, they take personal timeouts. They have opportunities to calm down, to places that they can sit and think and ideally access the learning they receive in their social skills instruction. We work very closely with our transportation department. It is a challenge to get students with significant emotional behavioral disabilities to school. Some of my kiddos have a 60-minute bus ride to get to me. And so, and in Seattle, where it's just raining quite a bit, it's not literally raining at this moment where I am, but it was not long ago. It's tough for these kids to sit there. And as we know, students with significant behavioral disabilities, if you don't give them something to do, they'll find something. And often the thing they find to do is not the thing that you're hoping they would do. So we work closely with transportation, supporting our drivers in being able to support students and organizing our buses as groups as well. And then Lori, if you can jump up to the next one. So, and then, man, I love a good walk, man. So beyond that, we have, although we still hold the idea that academics cannot be given up. So at no point are we going to say, oh, you don't need to do academics. We always need to do them. Now, can we accommodate and modify? Absolutely. Our students are on IEPs, that's kind of our job. So, and for some students, their anxiety is such that just being in a classroom is so anxiety provoking that we're working with them to take that first step of being inside of a classroom, if you're thinking of like a cognitive behavioral triangle and trying to get progressive exposure. So in those cases, sometimes we'll say like, well, don't worry about doing your work in the class. Let's just get you to sit in the classroom and be part of our community, part of our group. We do, we'll increase our connections with family. We're absolutely right now doing home visits with our families, even though we can't have them in place. They're socially distant. I have a team of staff who are driving 200 miles around the greater Seattle area to sit with families outside with masks on and just talk about how they're doing. Again, Lori mentioned restorative practices. You have to always ask yourself, restore to what? So we need to have those relationships with the families. Many of our families, these kids have been suspended by the best and the brightest administrators our district has to offer. And so for a lot of our kids and families, school is a place of punishment and a place where they're told you're bad or not good enough. But at the same time, the laws that say you have to keep coming. I mean, imagine going to a job where every day you were told you're not good at this job and you can't be here, but you have to come back tomorrow and we'll tell you again. So we really try to switch that paradigm with families. The phone calls for me aren't going to be bad phone calls all the time, but there's positive phone calls. Every day a kid gets a positive from us when they go home and a family hears it. So we want family and that communication to be super open and transparent and very, very valuable for families. And again, this is a small snippet. There are our MTSS book for building, which involves also our behavioral pathways, takes, it's like 25 or so pages. But I wanted to give you an idea about when we were creating this building, we had to think about what have these kids already been exposed to and what can we then add on to it. So, and again, a student who's receiving tier 3 accommodations, that doesn't mean that's all they're getting. It means and. At each step, it's and tier 2 and tier 3, not or. There we go.
Yeah.
Or if you could click me over to the next one there. So speaking specifically about restorative practices. So it's an interesting photo there. That is a teacher counselor and a student, and that teacher counselor actually is not in that student's classroom. He works in a different classroom, but we really push the idea that we are a community here, and that a student can't find a TC, a teacher counselor, that doesn't want to work with them, that doesn't want to support them in some way. So in this situation, the student had done something, had messed up the school, had done something to the school, and their idea of how to make it right was to fix the bulletin boards in the building. I know when we first opened Renton Academy, we had the conversation about how frequently should we put up bulletin boards. A lot of times they're like magnets when students get upset. They just immediately attack the bulletin board and pull it down. But I'll tell you what, we keep them right back up, because we really want our students to know that even when you get upset, you can't take away from our community. And that even if you get upset and you do something wrong, you can always make it right. So at Renton Academy, the idea of restorative practices really permeates what we do. So it's hard to point at the restorative practice. It's hard to say, oh, there it is over there. It's not in a box. It's there it is all around us right now. So those AM/PM groups are absolutely part of our restorative work in the building. We have to have kids who are comfortable sitting in circle so that they can then sit in the circle when they go. So when something does happen. And we'll have students now who something will happen in their classroom and they'll say, we're going to need to do a circle about this. And they can facilitate their own circle as staff sit on. So the other thing we do a lot is our Rocks Talk, which again is getting back to that, our PBIS base poster that we have around our building, is when a student does have some mistake. So they have a mess up, and boy, they can even do this online, can't they? We've seen a lot of neat behaviors online. After 20 years, I've learned every day that I haven't seen it all, even when I thought I have. And the online modality has really opened my eyes to all the options out there for ways that students can get creative with their behavior. But what we do in our Rocks Talk is if something has happened, a student has created some wrong, a staff member, a TC, sits and talks with them. So once if they're upset, they help to de-escalate, and we're of course trained in that. But once they're through that process, the TC sits and in general asks these questions, but they can be varied, where they ask the kid about their perception of what happened, what were they thinking and feeling at the time, discover and dig into who the impact might have been on. And sometimes that needs some support from the staff, and sometimes the kids are really good about it. And then the question of what you need to do to make it right. And I know Lori mentioned earlier, restorative practices is not the same as forced apologies. So we never say you have to apologize. If we ever do say that, it's because the staff member is still in the conflict cycle and we have to help them get out of it. But it's always about how do we make things right with them. So it could be an apology, but it could be something else. So in the instance of the student, they was helping to put up those poster boards. Then of course we do have the occasional harm circle. If you are one of those folks that comes out and sees us and you say, can I see a harm circle? I'm probably going to say no, because I don't know when it will happen. I generally try not to instigate harm so that I have to be part of a harm circle, even in the interest of action research. So Lori, if you can click over to the next one.
Yeah, one thing too, I just jump in that I've seen out at Renton Academy too, is that when great harm does occur, right? When there is something serious, your staff will often practice, model, kind of go through that circle, like let's anticipate what we think might happen and do kind of a run through so that you're also ready, you know, and as you said, just as soon as we think we've seen it all, the next car pulls in. But, you know, trying to also think forward about how you'll make sure to keep the circle safe, because oftentimes too, you know, one of the biggest concerns with restorative is I want to make sure when I put kids into that or adults into it, I'm not actually causing more harm. So my job is always to keep the circle safe.
Absolutely.
Travis, yeah. Sorry to interrupt. One person asked, maybe you could add a couple more sentences about how the AM/PM groups work.
Absolutely. So, and we modified them a bit for the online world, but we still roll them. So how the AM/PM groups work, and this is the same K-12 in our building is the students right now, they join the web link and we get all the students in on Zoom. And once they get in, the student will, we have a big joy scale. So it is from 1 to 10, how joyful are you today? So, and the teacher counselors, and I know there's a question there about a teacher counselor. A teacher counselor is anyone who works in this building. So we have a teacher counselor whose job is custodial, and we have a teacher counselor who's classified. We have teacher counselors who are certificated. I'm a teacher counselor. So the idea of the teacher counselor role is that kids can't go above the pay grade of someone. They can't say, if Lori and I'm the pair and Lori's the cert in the classroom, they can't say, well, hell with you, Travis, I'm gonna talk to Lori, she's the cert. So when we're talking about our circles, so the teacher counselors and students all meet together and each person goes through, sometimes it's facilitated by a TC and sometimes it's facilitated by a student. They state where they're at just on the big deal scale that day. And that gives the TCs an idea of like, where are we at? And do we need to have some further conversation with someone? There's usually some sort of a fun question of the day, like the trampoline and slide question. This morning, one of the questions was, would you rather scare someone or be scared by someone in one of the classrooms, to ideally promote some discussion. Then the students go through what their goal is for today and their plan and if they're committed to it. So their goal might be something like one of the students' goal today was to engage in his learning. So, and the goals stay the same for quite a while until they reach mastery of their goal. So his goal was to engage in his learning, and his plan was to keep his screen on and limit his breaks to 5 minutes or less. So that was his plan to do it, and he was committed to that goal. Then we will, after that, then we'll give any sort of business of the day. So it could be, different events that are happening in the building. We have a trunk or treat thing coming up. Lori, if you actually click over the next slide. Yeah. I think I had the presence to anticipate this question, Jeff Sprague. Look at me go. So so we'll ask them we'll share out business. So like we have a trunk or treat thing coming up next week. So we'll share that out with kids and kind of hype them up for that, or our assemblies that we have. Then in the afternoon, we have a PM circle every day. So all the students and TCs go through, how do you think you did on your goal? Did you make your goal? So, and why? And then they will give feedback to each other. This is something that I've seen terrify people, that we're gonna let students with significant emotional and behavioral disabilities give each other feedback. And it is absolutely much more powerful than having a cert or an adult give them feedback. And the students are very capable of it. It just takes some trust. Trust is essential, is another one of our principles. And some work with the students so that they're able to give each other effective feedback. So that student at the end of the day might say, yeah, I think I made my goal. I feel like I did keep my breaks to less than 5 minutes. And I really think that that I kept my camera on almost all the day. I feel like I made it. And the team will give them feedback. And another student might say, hey, I didn't see you online for 15 minutes, so I don't know if you made it today. Or a teacher counselor might say the same thing. And the important part is the whole group goes through this together. So a kid might give feedback to a TC about their goal. We're really modeling for students that this idea of setting goals is not just limited to your school day. I mean, we do it all day long. Everyone who made this session set a goal for themselves to make this session today and took action to make it happen. So we want to model that for our students as kind of a fractal going forward. Again, we'll cover any TC business, anything we need to cover about the day. And then we always end with positives. So people give positives to each other. So I might say, like, Lori, you did a wonderful job in the presentation earlier today. I really appreciated how you supported me by clicking over the slides. So everyone gives each other feedback and positives. You can see an example of that big joy scale right there. Almost all of them have a picture connection to it because sometimes language is not a friend for our students when they start with us. So they can get an idea of like what each step means. So, or if you could click one more down.
One thing too, I'll jump in and say is, because when I've been in and watched these feedback circles take place, is the adults are part of it too. So they've set their goals and kids are giving them feedback as well. And I think that gives a lot of power as well. And sometimes the adults like, oh gosh, yeah, I didn't even realize I did that or said that, or, You know, so it's really powerful that this applies to everybody.
Mhm. Absolutely. And we'll even have restorative circles because we as adults sometimes mess up and do something wrong. And so I was just in an online restorative circle the other day where a teacher counselor apologized to a student. The student said, "Hey, it felt like you were yelling at me." And the teacher counselor spoke to that and said, "You know, I'm really sorry. I did not want you to feel that way. That was not my intention. I certainly did not feel that way. I was just very impassioned about what I was saying." And the student and teacher counselor both kind of took ownership of their part. And again, different from what Jeff mentioned earlier, where as a principal, I might say, well, if you tell me you did it, I'll suspend you less. It's more about this teacher modeling the expectation of the student and showing them like, hey, you're gonna mess up. You do not have to hold yourself to this perfect standard.
Yeah.
So then to talk about harm circles, which is usually the exciting part that people like to talk about, when something big does happen. And our goal really is to either avoid entirely or to reduce exclusionary discipline. Students at Renton Academy are constantly seeking that, what is the secret to getting suspended? Because again, for many of them, the function of their behavior is escape. And so if they can figure out the riddle that means that they'll get suspended, then you better believe they'll do whatever behavior that is every time. Because it's much easier to be, for many of our students, it's easier to be considered the bad kid than it is to be considered the dumb kid, as they might think about themselves. So we don't really ever tell them, but really the secret is if we can't physically keep them safe in some fashion, then usually results in exclusion until we can bring them on back and figure out a way to keep them safe. So, and I'll show you our exclusion data here shortly, but when it happens, so the students, the staff and families as appropriate or as available might meet with they'll meet with a facilitator who is not involved in the incident. So I am not the facilitator as often as our wonderful classified manager, Michael Stuffelbeam is, and he presented, I think, on Wednesday with Lori on circles. But we all have the capability to do it. So you might be meeting, a high school student might be meeting with a teacher counselor who works in the elementary classroom. So the idea is it's someone neutral. So they also, every student gets a TC ally who is presented with whatever the circle questions are ahead of time. And that TC ally reaches out to the student, whether they are on campus or whether they are excluded. So they might be suspended, but you're talking to Miss George about the expectation for the circle tomorrow. What we really want is to negate those expressive and receptive language deficits that are super common amongst students with emotional behavioral disabilities. So, and then if the student is in out of school, they'll reach out and they'll prepare them for the circle. The typical questions are these 4, and these again get modified per, it's not a prescription, it's a suggestion. So it's in general, what happened? It's amazing how different perspectives can be about things. What were you thinking at the time? What have you thought about since? What do you need to do to make things right? And what can you commit to in order to support this person going forward, perhaps if you are not the perpetrator? The important part about this, again, is we're not asking our kids to create these rote responses. We don't necessarily want them to know, well, this is exactly what I'll say word for word when this happens in most cases. But we want them to be aware of the questions, and so that when they're asked these questions, they're ready for it. So a lot of times for our students, they've, again, developed these behaviors where when they're presented with challenging questions, they do behaviors that help them escape it. So we want them to be ready for the challenging questions and be able to have dialogue with someone beforehand. When we do the circles, and again, a restorative circle is not a 100% bang, we've done it, this is perfect thing. So sometimes they go sideways, but the TCs will meet ahead of time and try to pre-plan for what potentialities we could see in this meeting. We've brought parents from multiple families into meetings before. We've brought all a variety of students into these conversations, and we go as far as figuring out like, well, where's each person gonna sit? And if this happens, what should we do? So we plan out as much as we can to be ready for anything that could pop out of these. We also make it clear to people that if ever they feel like they can't contribute to it or they need to take a break, that they do. So they step out of the circle, and usually their ally will go with them and walk them through the process of getting back in or whatever emotions they're feeling at the time. And I would say, though, that the end result is we've seen a marked change in our exclusion data. Laura, if you want to click on the next slide down.
Yes.
So here was our exclusion days. And you'll see that 2014-15 was when we moved into our new building. And so when we opened the school year, like construction workers were leaving out like electric saws, and there was backhoes driving across our property. So we had less room to make safe spaces for people. A circular saw can be dangerous in people's hands. So we saw a spike there. But in 15-16 was where we really started in earnest our trainings with Lori and our efforts around restorative practices. And you can see from there, we really had a pretty low number. So we had about 20 the first year, 40 the next year, 20 the year after that. And again, these are the students who are have the most significant behaviors in the district. Some of my students, the year prior to us receiving them, were excluded for 140 days of the school year. So most of those exclusions as well are for one time, and it's the average exclusion length is a half day. So the longest I think we had was 3 days for a student. So we've seen a great impact on exclusion. And Lori, if you want to click over to the next one. This is the part that thrills me more, is that when you actually are able to keep your kids in the building, then we can really get back to those academics. So academics and behavior are absolutely linked. And so when this was our data from last year, I'm sorry, 2 years ago, because as we all know, our school-wide data has been messed up for 2 years now. So I didn't feel like sharing that. Believe me, my exclusion data this year looks fantastic, but I didn't think it was as valuable for this conversation. So the math and these are our math reading scores for mid-year, and those are compared to the annual, the expected growth. So for our students building wide in math at mid-year, they had averaged 120% of their expected growth at the mid-year point. And in reading, they were almost at 140%. So our kids, about 85% of them come with needs in academic areas in addition to behavior. And so they're significantly behind their peers. So our goal is to try to close that gap for these students. So they come to us, we might have an 8th grader who's reading at the 3rd grade level. They're gonna have to grow a lot faster than 1 year in order to really be at a functional place. Our goal is when they graduate, or prior to that, we want 100% successful life transitions. So they're ready for life out there. They're holding jobs, they are involved in vocational opportunities, they're going to college, what have you. And we have to get back to those academics in order to open those doors for these students. And Laura, if you want to click over again. So when we are thinking about this world of online learning and really trying to pull apart our PBIS systems, our restorative practices for the online world, I've gotten a lot of questions about can you do restorative circles online? And I would say absolutely you can. Using Zoom or Teams or whatever people are using out there, you absolutely can create circles and have these, whether it's a harm circle or just a mini discussion with students about behavior to help them make things right. You absolutely can make that happen. Something we've also learned is that students can thrive. We have a couple of students where a lot of times it's anxiety rooted, their behavior, that when we've taken away the social construct, the contract of sitting in a room with someone or several other peers, their engagement has gone through the roof. They've been excited with that opportunity. Now that absolutely doesn't mean that the solution for that kid is online learning for the rest of their life. We're gonna need to help them get over that anxiety hurdle. But it's not been bad for all. Some students have been able to become leaders when before they were kind of in the background. So we also set our team up to know that everyone has become the first-year teacher, but with experience. So, and the importance of our classified staff has become even more important. And that is with the juxtaposition of a lot of districts are considering furloughs for their classified folks at the time. So being able to individualize instruction in an online world really necessitates the ability to have multiple instructors at play. So our certificated staff work very closely with our classified staff, so they're aware of the specially designed instruction that they're going to be delivering. So it becomes incredibly important to have them on and going as best we can. Then lastly is there is this world of isolation. And I don't mean isolation and restraint. What I mean is the idea that I have students who attend classes that have no idea of the breadth of our building, of how many people are in the community that could help them, of really the re-education framework of restorative practices on a broader scale, because they're living in Zoom right now. So really trying to figure out how we can address that isolation becomes super important. And getting back to the idea of that in-person contact is still possible, of reaching out to those families and really just working with them as humans. That is really a foundation of the restorative practices. So I know I saw one question pop up is, do the parents get training? The parents don't get any formal training, but we do talk to them if they're going to be part of the circle. And if something has happened, I'll reach out to the family, or one of my teammates will, and we'll explain to the family, like, this is the approach we're going to take with their kid. Usually when we talk to them, their question is, how long are they suspended for? And I try to switch that to, like, I hope not at all. I hope we can resolve this. It's an opportunity for our students to learn. That only works if you have the relationship. Because if they think that I'm just calling to yell at them or to suspend their kid, then they usually don't answer the phone. So that makes that conversation a lot harder to have. And so that pre-work becomes super important. I'm going to do a student visit this afternoon, and nothing's going on, nothing's up with the kid, but we're just going to sit there and talk for a little bit with the kid and the family about just what's going on in their life. So that in-person contact becomes even more important given our virtual world that we're living within.
Yeah.
And that was my entire presentation at this point. I think we're going on to questions, I believe, right now, Lori. And I know there's been several in there.
I'm going to also put up our emails and the one for, well, here's all of our contacts. I think, did I put Bridget's up here? Oh yeah, at the bottom, if you're interested in that tool, there's the email to find out more about that peer EBD as well.
Travis, there was one question that popped up earlier, and it was, what does the Big Joy scale, what do the numbers on the Big Joy scale consist of?
Oh, so it's a little different in each one. So at the beginning of the year, they will do a lesson on the Big Joy scale. Or also whenever we have a student come in, we have students add to our community quite a bit. The community will do a circle where the students introduce this new student to our community and to the expectations. So it depends on the classroom. So in my youngest classroom, it is the Big Joy scale. The numbers are a series of faces, and a 10 is this, like, just, it's emojis. It's the most excited emoji you could ever get. And at the and the 1 is the like, the person I think has like steam coming out of their ears, and they're bright red, and they're livid, and everywhere in between. But they do a lesson to start the year whenever we add kids about it. We stole it from the idea of the Big Deal scale, which is a social skills idea about keeping things in perspective. But we didn't want to focus on the negative. We wanted to really focus on the positive, because what you focus on will grow, was something that Lisa Hoyt always told me. So we focus on the positive instead. So we talk about how you can have, there's these little tiny joys in life you can have, and there's great big huge joys in life that you can have. So and I send out a letter every day to all of my staff about just the good things that I've seen during the day. And on it today is our custodian, who's amazing. He also is a teacher counselor here, Mr. Sun, says happy Friday every Friday. And so we talk about there's just these little joys in life that also we can also celebrate. And so there's a lesson that they run that accompanies it to really help the students break down, what does it mean for them to be a 10? Like, what is that ultimate joy? So, you know, is it the new PlayStation? You just got that? Like, is that where you're at in your joy today? And is a 1 like just, you know, this horrific event that you might have lost somebody? That gives the teacher counselors a matrix and a scale of where that kid is at each day.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another question. Thank you, Travis. There's another question. What materials or resources did you use to train students on the circles?
So I'm actually we got trained through, really it was Lori was when we started us on that, and then the teacher counselors passed it down. I'm gonna let Lori answer kind of on the broader scale first.
Yeah, and a lot of our training materials we've adapted from the International Institute of Restorative Practices. And, you know, to make sure we're honoring the roots of all this work. Their work is really based on the Ojibwe Nation. You know, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of different processes, and almost all of them are linked to some type of First Nations group. So I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge all of that, the traditional work that has been put into this. On our website, Sound Supports, we have a resources tab, and we have a whole section on restorative, and it has everything, you know, starting circles, formats, ideas. So if people are looking for some resources, I'd point them to that, as well as that Catherine Evans book. It's a great, the one I referenced the circles from, the little book of restorative justice and education. It's a fantastic $5 starter for your staff to read to understand restorative. But we do trainings, as well as we're doing some static ones we're putting up, but we do virtual circle training right now, which is really interesting and challenging. But
and from our end, because we're already doing those, like I think biggest hurdle is getting kids to sit in circle with each other.
yeah.
And so since we were already doing our AM PM groups, for the students, it was a super easy transition, because we just said, hey, and instead of doing our typical AM PM group, we're going to do this circle is about welcoming this new student into our community, or this circle is about an incident that happened today. And so really the staff, after getting the training from Lori, it made for a very easy transition for these students. And of course, the first time they had questions about it. But the other important part that we found is that when we made sure that the students who had some language deficits were prepped ahead of time for it, that pre-work becomes super important for the circle. And I know that I've worked with other principals that just say, hey, I'm going to do a restorative circle now. And it's kind of slapped together and it goes sideways. That pre-work became super important. And so with the pre-work, with the ally pulling the kid out and talking to them ahead of time so they knew what to expect, with the facilitator working with all the people who would be in the circle to make them aware of the question, we found that the students' transition into being members of these circles, again, even from as young as 5, was super easy. It was reasonably smooth. I wouldn't say easy, smooth would be better than easy.
Excellent. So we have a few more minutes. I don't see other questions. I'll remind folks you'll get prompts to complete the session evaluation, and the copy of the presentation is available in the Files tab on the Pathable platform. And this presentation will be made available about 15 or 20 minutes after the session ends. So you'll be able to access that then.
Yeah, I think if we do have a few minutes, one thing I'd love is if Jeff could just share some of the research around using restorative in these alternative eds, because I know you guys are really out there doing a lot of the research work.
Don't say yes until you turn the mute button off.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few, not as many studies as we'd like. I think some of us lament that, but there is some emerging work. I can post it up in the chat too. Probably the most comprehensive summary I know currently of the research work is done by a group called WestEd, which is the Regional Education Lab in California, and the author's name is Fronius. I'll post up the citation on the chat. So there's a lot of dissertations out there. So they don't meet the highest standards of research. I think most people at this forum aren't going to be splitting those kind of hairs anyway. Probably the best 2 known studies are one in Pittsburgh and the one in Denver public schools. The evaluation leader there was our colleague and friend Ann Gregory at Rutgers. And a couple of big findings. The outcomes tend to be better, significantly better for young people. And think about some of the things that we talked about. this point about how we do our business and forgiving, right? Sometimes I think teachers of secondary students aren't as good as at letting go of the past, if you will, which is a functional definition of forgiveness, still wanting to hold a grudge or some control over students. And then the other piece, which is a sort of a duh comment, but I think important to say, is that, as Lori brought us to earlier, there is if you don't have a high fidelity of implementation, for example, we did a class circle once in the fall and then it kind of fell off. You're probably not going to see the kind of outcome there either. But what I would encourage the participants to do is continue to look at the literature, because it's a lot of what's out there now, I think, is more hopeful than real, but that can also be said for the PBIS research. We don't have enough of those high standard randomized trials, which again, practitioners don't always lose a lot of sleep over. But if you're looking for rock solid proof, we're still looking for some of that. And then as a closing to Lori's question to me, I think, and I put it in the chat too, I think one thing that I told this to Travis when we were doing the rehearsal too, it's like, don't ever underestimate the role and value of a strong leader like Travis, and a person who's willing to model. You have to buy me a drink for this, Travis.
Absolutely, Jeff.
Somebody that's willing to push forward and be brave enough to do the right thing on behalf of students and the whole community. And so we have even less information about that role. But what I've heard throughout our 2-session strand so far is when this thing rolls, it's because the leaders are supporting not only the students, but the staff around. So again, I'll post up that citation from WestEd, and that's that.
Yeah.
I see Brenda posted that there's some questions in the polls.
Yes, there are 3 questions in the polls. One is, how are allies selected?
For us, we usually ask the student, who do they feel most comfortable with? And we ask them to give us ideally 2 or 3 options, because we never know when someone's going to be teaching something that they can't get pulled out of. So, but it's student driven is the allies. And then the facilitator works with the kid to pick their ally. And then the facilitator reaches out to the ally and says, hey, such and such student has requested your presence as an ally. And then the ally connects with the kiddo.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So I think we are at just about at 2 o'clock. So Lori and Travis, this was great. A lot of good information. A lot of commenters said thank you for sharing your ideas and your expertise. To everybody else, I will see you at 2:30. We have our final session of the day on using data for PBIS monitoring and decision making. So have a good break, and everybody, thank you for participating.
Yeah, and reach out to us if you have questions. We're happy to answer it. You've got our email, so please don't be shy.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone.